So, of course, as you all know, this is our CAD screen. In our past webinars, we have looked at how to put information into CAD. So today we're going to be taking a look at how to get information out of CAD in a usable format there. So the first thing that we're going to look at is actually going to be this reference tab up top here. So if I click on it, you'll see that it drops down and gives me several options. The first one that we'll take a look at here is just our location. So that's going to open up and give us the ability to search throughout our common name locations. Now you'll notice this is going to be very similar to if you clicked on the reference button right there next to the actual field itself. But this one kind of lets you search throughout all of your locations without having to find a CAD incident that already uses that location. So in this case, I'll just search for Parkwood Hall here. And when I hit search, we'll see that it comes up and it gives us the site code, the beat, the street address. Coming on down, you'll get that information in further detail, a description of the location, call history here, so we can see every call that has gone out to that location there. We can click on those incidents for more information. We can tab over to our officer safety alerts and take a look at any of those that have been entered in for that particular location. I know especially with the current pandemic, a lot of folks have been entering in COVID information there to the officer safety as well. We'll click over to security matrix. So that's going to give you your information for the alarm company, where the alarm panel is, where the Knox box might be, who to contact to gain entry to the building, whatever the situation may be for those. We'll click over here on our photos. Now we'll see here in our photos that we've got a blueprint in there, so we can actually click to open that up. We can also click over to our other media, and if your administrators have given you access there to view the other media there, there can be documents or other information about that location. This last tab here is our contact information, so that's going to be whoever the primary contact is for that location. But of course, in some instances, there may be multiple contacts. Maybe it's a residence hall and the RA on each floor is entered there into that contact information field. So we'll go ahead and close out of that and go back up to our reference tab. And next we'll go ahead and scroll down and take a look at our crime codes. So if we click on that crime codes button right there, it's actually going to come up and give us a list of every crime code that we've got in our system. So maybe you're trying to enter in a crime code there into the incident field, and just for whatever reason you cannot seem to find it. Well, you can come into this crime code list and scroll through and take a look at every single crime code that you've got in your ARMS code list and figure out exactly what the code is that you're looking for to enter onto that CAD incident. So especially for your newer dispatchers that are maybe from another department or still learning the code list, this is a great tool for them to have open to view as a reference source there. We'll go ahead and close out of our crime code list, and next we'll take a look at equipment. So if I go to reference and drop down to skills and equipment, now kind of a note on this, these are all going to be entered in by your administrators to the employee file in the ARMS setup menu. So as you kind of see here, the skills and equipment are broken up into two sections. Of course, skills are going to be intangibles, so abilities or skills or knowledge that maybe training that your officers have. And then, of course, equipment is going to be tangible. So it's going to be weapons, riot gear, maybe a defibrillator, whatever it may be, would be over there in the equipment section. So maybe your reporting party calls in and they are Spanish speaking. So you want to be sure to issue a unit to that call who also speaks Spanish. So you can come in here under your skills and equipment and check that Spanish speaking box right here. And that'll show you you currently do not have anyone on shift who speaks Spanish, but if you expand this out, we'll see that actually Jimmy Donald does speak Spanish. So maybe he's just he's on shift but not in CAD, whatever it may be. You've got that information. If it's a medical incident and you want to send someone who is CPR certified, you can check CPR certified there, and it'll actually show us that we do have a unit on shift who is CPR certified. So in this case, we've got unit 6782, who we've got right there. So that's a useful reference there for us. And if we expand out, we'll see our officers who are not currently logged into CAD who also have that skill. Now, same thing with equipment, functions exactly the same way. So if we click on baton 1, for instance, we'll see that Jimmy Donald has baton 1. If we click on this Glock, we'll see that unit 1138 has that Glock 19. And again, these are totally customizable by your administrators, so they can add in as many skills, whatever certifications or trainings or languages may apply to your institution there. Or under equipment, of course, they can add in just every piece of equipment that may apply and be helpful to you as a dispatcher there. Now, of course, as you add in a lot of different equipment or skills, you may need to search in these fields up here to kind of filter that down further, which of course is also an option. We'll go ahead and close out of our skills and equipment here. And our last item here under the reference tab is going to be logged on units. So of course, looking here at the available units list, we've got 1138, 123, 6782, and C4 logged in, but we may not be familiar with exactly which officers are assigned to those units. Maybe your department utilizes dynamic units, so one unit number is not always going to be the same officer. Whatever your use case may be here, you can go up to References and scroll down to Logged On Units. When I click on that, you'll see that we have got all of our logged on units as well as their names and any officers that are logged on to that unit there. So if we had multiple officers on one unit, whatever the case may be, we could also see that listed here in our logged on unit screen. I'll go ahead and close out of that. So that's going to be everything under our reference tab. Of course, you'll see that we also have employees, phone numbers, vehicles, all sorts of good stuff there under that reference tab. So certainly feel free to explore that and find out all the different features that are kind of built in there. We'll move on over to the next tab to the left here, which is our reports. Now, as we open this up, you'll see that several of the options under the Reports tab actually have an arrow that gives us another menu that opens up. So we've got all sorts of different reports that can be pulled throughout CAD here in order to get different information, just depending on what it is you're looking for here. So we'll go ahead and pull a report just to take a look at it here. So we can go over to our dispatch log report and maybe dispatch log by location. And that's going to open up. Let us put in a time and date here. So we'll just print it for October so far this month. And we'll select Parkwood Hall and our apartments here. Hit OK. And that's going to print out that dispatch log for our given locations for that time period. We'll see we can click the arrows to tab through it to view all of the information in that report here. So now that we've taken a look at that, we'll close out of there. And again, here under reports, there's going to be all sorts of different reports that you guys can pull. We certainly don't have time during today's session or even this afternoon to go through each and every single one of them. So certainly I encourage you guys to go ahead and take a look through those. and see which ones are going to fill the reporting requirements there of your department. Another place where we can find reports is going to be over here in Functions. And then we'll actually go down and we'll look at our shift report and our CAD full report. Now, first we'll take a look at our shift report here. And that's going to ask us for our date and time. So again, we'll just run it for the entirety of October. And we'll enter in our times and hit OK on that. Now, as always, anytime we print something in ARMS, we have the option of printing it directly to a printer device. We can print it on our screen so we can view it as a PDF, or we can save it directly to a file. By default, it's on screen, so we'll go ahead and just hit OK. And that's going to open up with this report. So, of course, it's a shift report, so typically you wouldn't be running it for an entire month, just one shift there. But at any rate, we can see our totals for that given time period. So we've got 17 CAD incidents over the past month. We've got 2 vehicle stops. We've got 3 calls for service, 3 other reports. If we had felony calls, misdemeanor calls, we had 3 different case reports issued amongst those 17 calls. Coming on down in our crime classifications, out of all of those incidents that were crimes, we had 1 accident report, 1 animal, and then 2 different dispatch reports. Kind of lastly here, we'll see any mileage or fuel reports that were added throughout that given time period. And then if I click to view our next page, I'll actually see that we get a summary of dispatch. So this is going to be our radio log here, just kind of scrolling through. And that'll show us all 17 of those reports throughout our system. So that CAD shift report is a great way to just kind of get that mile-high summary of everything that's happened over a given period. So whether it be just one day or an entire month, these numbers here, especially on the first page, will give you a lot of good information, all contained just in this one compact screen here. Go ahead and close out of this. The other report under Functions, and let me find a more interesting CAD report here. If we go up to Functions and come down, we'll notice after the shift report, we have the ability to print a CAD full report here. So if I click on that, and again, we'll just select Screen, we see that it's actually going to print that full report of whatever incident we already had open there. So looking through, we've got our arrived dispatch times, we've got any notes, any locations, our incident codes. And this is exactly the same report that would print if you were just to select the print button right here on the toolbar. So just kind of another way to get to print that incident report there. All right, so moving on, the last thing that we'll be looking at today is going to be our global queries. So as a dispatcher, you do have the ability to go and take a look at different things throughout case management, throughout master name, master vehicle, whatever it may be, depending on your user access level granted by your administrators. But certainly sometimes you need to be able to search through that information a little bit quicker than going over to open the dedicated module for it. So if we come up here to Functions and come down to our 4th option here, which is Global Queries. So all of these are going to give us the ability to search through the entirety of our ARMS instance in order to access, well, not necessarily to access, but in order to view information from within CAD and not have to go over into the specific module to view that information. So first, we'll just grab that first option here, which is our crime incident. We'll open this up, and you'll notice this field right here is yellow. If you remember from some of our previous sessions, anytime you've got a yellow field there in the fit client, you can hit a question mark and then hit the tab key, and that will actually give you all of the different values that you can search for there. So in this case, maybe I want to come through and I can just click on any of these to select them. or I would be able to actually type in whatever it is that I'm looking for. So in this case, I'll just look for a simple assault, and I can come through and look for just CAD entries. So it looks like that may not be a dispatch code, or I can look through case management and hit search again, whatever it may be, to find all instances of that simple assault code there. So in this case, we'll go back to CAD entries, and maybe we'll look for abandoned vehicle or property, just like we have open in the background there. And it's going to show us all of our CAD entries there that use that crime code. We can scroll through. If we had more entries, we could go through this list and click on them individually to view the narrative and the confidential information there for it. So now that we've taken a look at our crime and incidents, another great one that we can look at is actually going to be this narrative. So narrative actually allows you to go through and do a text search throughout the entirety of anything that's written in ARMS, whether that be the media info, the police info in CAD, the synopsis or the narrative in case management, notes and a master name, description of property and evidence, whatever it may be here. So in this case, we'll just type into our text field, maybe we say info, and we go through and we'll just mark all of the boxes so we can see anywhere in ARMS that info was typed into a text box. So we'll hit search, and that's going to come through, and we'll see that we have some case report narratives. We've got some case report summaries, or actually these are CAD summaries here. Coming on down, we've got more CAD police notes. We've got disposition notes there. So that's a great way. Maybe you want to look through and find every time that a bicycle was mentioned, that a dog was mentioned, whatever the situation may be, you can go in and search through that text field right here. So we'll hit clear to close out of all that. Now, kind of coming through and looking at some of the other ones that we have, you can look through and search for locations that same way. You can do a full master name search. So you can search for Worth here and hit search, and that's going to show me everyone with the last name of Worth in our system. I'll clear that, and as you can see here in master name, it's a pretty robust search field, so you can even put in an age range, a date of birth, social security number, race, sex, whatever it may be. You can search for your reporting parties, which of course are going to be the folks entered here under the reporting party info in CAD. And you can even go in and search through all of the BOLOs that have been entered into your system. All right. Now, after you've run that search, you'll notice that there's a print option across the top of several of these. So that'll actually let you print whatever you find searching through here, which of course is a great way to carry that information around and have it easily accessible there. All right, I'll go ahead and close out of that global queries there, and we'll go ahead and open it up for questions here. So if you do have any questions, feel free to send them in the chat over to Devin, or you can raise your hand within Ring Central, and we'll be able to call on you, and you'll be able to ask your question there. So we'll go ahead and open it up.
Yep, and if you do have a question, just type out the word question in the chat and send that over now. So that way we will we'll know that you're typing something so we don't end the webinar before you get done.
All right, looks like we've got a question here, so I'll go ahead and unmute you, Brianna, and you can ask your question.
Yeah, quick question about the reference tab. Under reference, it says logged on vehicles.
Yeah.
Okay. Actually, I was going to talk about logged on officers. So, and my question was, why isn't came with the reference tab? You have to hit it twice. Once for logged on units that does not list their vehicle numbers. Then you have to do reference to logged on vehicles. it's just based 2 different searches for the same thing? That's one of my questions. Can the vehicles be placed under under logged on units?
Gotcha. Yeah. Well,
I'm sorry.
there's no way to. No, you're good. There's no way to do it right now, but that's not a bad thought. That's something that we can definitely look at kind of merging together in there.
Oh, cool.
Mm-hmm.
That was my question.
Okay. All right. Thank you, Brianna.
All right. Any other questions there? Let's see. We've got one. Are there going to be any updates to the web version of CAD? Devin, I'll let you speak to that there.
Yeah, there's always updates that are being added and changed to the web version of CAD. But right now, that web version is made for the officers being able to just be out on the field and be able to add in an incident if they need to, or change their status on there. It's sort of a CAD light, if you will, made just for officers to be able to put in that information out on the field. We are always looking at moving CAD to the web. There's nothing I can really tell you right now for any changes with that. But yeah, I can at least say that there are updates to the web version that we are looking at. All right, any other questions? All right, I'm not seeing any more questions in there. Sorry, Stephen, what were you saying?
Yeah, and of course, if you do have any questions there about either any of the reporting we looked at today or just CAD in general, of course, do feel free to reach out to our support team via phone or email there, and we'll be able to certainly answer your questions there as well. One last call for any questions there in the chat or any hand raising there. All right. Well, we will go ahead and wrap up this session. Of course, check back here in the coming week or so to find a recording of this session if you want to share it with anyone in your department who is unable to attend today. And then, of course, also if you just go to arms.com, you'll be able to view this session as well as any of our previous sessions as well. Keep an eye out there for further updates, and everyone, please have a great rest of your day.
Thanks, guys.